Hello, everybody. We are back for week 22 of the Other Side Sports Show. Matthew Binkley makes his return tonight, and John Emmons here as well, alongside me. So we got a football packed show tonight,
Ooh,
talking absolutely nothing but football today.
I came back
Um,
just in time.
you did. Even the hold up segment is all football. So there's literally from start to finish, it's going to be nothing else.
I'm glad.
Unless,
That's why probably why I'm most excited to have Matthew back, other than his presence, is getting the hold up segment back after a hiatus.
so the only thing that won't be football related is if Matthew breaks out something new on the what's on his mind topic at the end. But we'll see what happens
No,
there.
no.
So, Emmons, you're huge into college football. You're huge into recruiting. You're huge into position battles, and we've got a nice position battle down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So Tua Tagovailoa came in, defeated the Georgia Bulldogs national championship game after he only played a half. Rumor is that he is going to be the starting quarterback for Alabama, despite Jalen Hurts only losing 2 games in 2 years. So, Emmons, between Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, who would you start and why?
If if I'm running the show, I think I start Tua just because I think the talent gap between the two is clear. I think Jalen's more of a Saban kind of quarterback, more control. He controls him more. I feel. I mean, he's 27-2, but that's also Alabama being Alabama. I think Tua's talent is there to come out as I don't know if he was a true freshman last year or a redshirt freshman last year, and it's seeing his action and playing Georgia and just I wouldn't say he torched him because I mean if you watch the game-winning throw, I mean probably a Division 2, Division 3 quarterback could have made that throw, but I think he just brings a different aspect to the game for Alabama, something that I don't think Alabama's really seen playmaking wise at the quarterback position in a while, probably since AJ McCarron. So I think it's got to be Tua. And Jalen Hurts maybe has to get out of his feelings a little bit.
I am gonna go with Hurts. It's hard because when you look at a game like that, right? He comes in and we've seen it way too many times where somebody comes in and makes a difference in a big game because of an injury. And most of the time, it's like an injury, right? Well, now they have some film on him, and as the year progresses, they're going to get more film on him. Do we really know that the talent level is that different, or are they just because you also have to remember he throws different side of the field. That in and of itself can mess up a defense that hasn't prepared for that. So now you have teams that are going to actually prepare for that kind of an offense. You might not have this quarterback that you think you have. Whereas with Hurts, he doesn't turn the ball over. You don't have to go score on all these plays like with Lane Kiffin's offense. You don't have to score these points with that defense. I mean, really, when Hurts got into trouble and everybody was questioning him, it was because the linebackers got hurt. Alabama starting linebackers went down, and when that defense gave up a little bit, that's when the questions about Hurts came out. So I think you keep Hurts and you keep going to what you got unless you absolutely are certain that 2A is that much better. And I don't know. None of us know that answer.
You know what you're getting with Hurts, but I think Tua has that, and I mean, stars don't mean a lot, but Tua's been a big time guy just coming into Bama. It's not like he's some random guy off the bench who,
What did he do before he did that?
I mean, he's been highly touted since he came into high school.
How many quarterbacks have you heard time and time again that means nothing?
Go back to me saying stars mean nothing before you say that.
I know, I heard that. I'm just saying.
But I'm saying Tua has showed the talent at every level. I mean, it's true. I mean, where hasn't he shown it?
He showed it in one half.
Jamarcus Russell had talent at every level.
Right. But Jalen Hurts just is your safe choice. And I think you can win with either because you're Bama. But if you're looking at the more talented quarterback, I think it's Tua.
So I I think Tua is going to end up starting for Bama
Yeah, I
this
do.
year.
I do think you see both. I think you see both though this year.
I think that Jalen Hurts should start though, and if it was me, I would start Jalen Hurts. Mostly just because of what Matthew said. You know what you're getting. He's not going to turn the ball over on you, so he's not going to put your defense in short field situations. You're not going to have to deal with that. Your defense isn't used to dealing with that. Your coaches aren't used to dealing with that. And if Tua goes out and is making throws, and you change your offense around that, and it's not what Nick Saban is used to doing, it can cause. I feel like it could cause problems for that team and potentially cost them a big loss.
The big thing that Matthew did bring up though is the different. He's throwing to a different side of the field.
Right.
That is huge.
Yeah,
Right.
for a defense to not have any practice with that
Right.
It makes a difference.
All right. So, obviously, AP or the college football has top 25 rankings. Only the top four teams at the end of the year make it into the college football playoffs. Alabama was one of those teams last year. They're presumed to be one of those teams this year. So, Matthew, I'll let you start off with this one. What team outside of the preseason top 10 could you see making their way into the college football playoff?
It kills me to say it, but Miami. I think you've got another year with Mark Richt's offense. I think they're going to go away from. I'm hoping for their sake, because I want to see them do well. Even as a Gator fan, I want to see Miami do well, because when Miami does well, just like when FSU does well, college football does well. And I think I've talked to a lot of Hurricane fans, and they cannot stand Rozier. He just doesn't do anything for them offensively. And I think now you're going to see, like, for example, Cozy Perry coming out and possibly starting. And that's going to add another level to that offense, because the defense, we saw it with that turnover machine. I think we're going to see a lot more from that team. And I think this is the year they overcome Clemson.
Question, Josh, does your ranking have Miami in the top 10? The one that we talked about?
Mine has 12.
Mine has it at 8. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, mine has them at 8 too.
Oh, mine has them at 12.
Which
13,
side?
right.
What side are you using?
Sports Illustrated.
We're using ESPN.
It's
Okay.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
No big
that's
deal.
That's fine.
I think Miami's a good choice, especially if they're at 12, which I think is a little low. But
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that they were there.
right, yeah, I think 8's a good spot for them. God, I hate
But
doing
they
this
keep
because
they keep changing it week by week, I feel like.
I don't think this is the most talented team out of the bunch. There's two that I kept going head to head, but the one that I had on the outside looking in for this topic is Stanford, but they play in the Pac-12, so I just don't. No matter what they do, I don't think they can get in. I'm gonna go.
What if they go undefeated?
If they go undefeated, they can get in, but I think Washington is by far the best team in that conference as of right now. Before we see them play, so if I'm looking at it as of right now, I just don't see any team in the Pac-12 having a shot. I'm gonna stick close to home here.
Pick Michigan State.
There's really, and I don't, but I mean, out of the Notre Dame, no. Stanford, no. Michigan, no. Michigan State's returning 19 out of 21 guys. Lewerke's got another year under his belt. This is the deepest secondary Mark D'Antonio's ever had since he's been there. That's including when he had Dark Leonard and Trey Waynes, which was the number one defense in the country. It's just to see if they can put it together. They have the best opportunity because of playing in that Big Ten East. If they win the Big Ten championship, they're in. There's no, unless they lost 3 games and somehow made it there. So I think just looking at the whole grand scheme of things, if you win the Big Ten, you're pretty much in. And I think they have a shot at winning the Big Ten. I do think they would probably be like the third. They'd be behind Ohio State and Penn State, in my opinion, in that race. But just looking at the teams, it's not that deep, in my opinion, this year. So I just don't know who else I'm taking over them that's outside of the top 10. I was going to go Auburn, but I seen Auburn was number 10, so I couldn't do that.
Evans, you started off. I was like ready to go right along with you. My team outside of the top 10 that I have making it into the college football playoff The Stanford Cardinals. The Stanford Cardinals. I love them. I think Bryce Love is probably going to have a huge year. Potentially win the Heisman Trophy. They have USC week 2. They have Notre Dame week. What is that week? Week 5. And then they have Washington later on in the year. One of their last 4 games. I think if they can win all 3 of those games, and then obviously win the games that they need to, they're good. They could even I think drop the USC or Notre Dame game and beat Washington and still potentially make it in if they win a championship.
That they don't though. That conference is historically not seen very well.
Yeah, there's everybody. That's where I think Michigan State has the advantage because that conference. If you lose one game on that schedule in the Pac-12, you're done. I mean, it is viewed as like arguably not even a Power 5 conference anymore with how bad that conference is. They get a lot of preseason rankings and a lot of. I mean, I don't know if they won a bowl game last year.
But you think you don't think the star power, especially if Bryce Love comes out and wins the Heisman Trophy, that could get them into the playoffs?
I mean, no. I mean, they'd have to go undefeated, in my opinion, to get into the playoff.
I think they can go undefeated.
Where are they? Let me just pull the schedule.
I mean, they always have that one game they just lose, though.
I mean,
they just don't.
You also they're at Washington.
Yeah, that's a loss. Washington,
and that's gonna be a night game. I mean, a lot of their big games besides USC are on the road. At Notre Dame, at ASU, who could be a sneaky team, at Cal, at UCLA, when you got a team like Michigan State who plays all their big games at home this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right.
They play Ohio State at home?
Yep, Ohio State and Michigan at home.
I mean, Michigan's no longer a big game. Michigan's...
Yeah, well, they get all the preseason. They'll be undefeated, probably go into that game and lose again.
That's all right. I believe in the Stanford Cardinals. You guys watch them. All right, so we're going to cover the last team outside of the top 5 for now. The UCF Knights. The self-proclaimed national champions of last season. They're ranked 23rd on ESPN's top 25. Emmons, do you think 23 is a good landing spot for UCF, or do you think they should be higher?
I don't know. I mean, they went undefeated last year, yeah, but I mean, Scott Frost is gone, which is huge. And I think he's going to do big things in Nebraska down the road. I don't think 23 is bad. I don't think it's good. I think you can put UCF there. I don't know what I'm going to get from them this year. I mean, they play in a weak conference. I don't think they deserve to be in the college football playoff. I think 23 is fine. I'm not like blown away that they're at 23 or anything. It's not like driving me insane or anything. Could they be a little higher? Yeah, I can see them maybe between the 17 to 23 range, but there's nothing really there that's driving me insane or anything like that.
Matthew, what are your thoughts on it?
I still don't know. We beat Auburn, so we're the national champs now. I mean, but it's no. Scott, when you lose a guy like Scott Frost, you should to that point where you can make that run again. Like okay, look, once what's his face went to Washington.
Okay, we're losing you, Matthew.
What? We'll go ahead and have him try to give it a minute there. What he was saying though is the coach from Boise State went to Washington, and Boise State kind of fell off where they were at. So losing Scott Frost is huge. I don't really know what you're going to get from UCF. I don't think it's a bad spot for them at 23, like I said. So I think that's where Matthew was going well.
Yeah, they're going to be very mediocre. I got a couple. I mean, I know some of those kids on that team, and they're good players. Because when they're going to be getting more playing time, but they're senior class that kind of led them last year, and that rebuild. I mean, and then you lose Frost. It's the fairy tale's over. UCF, it's over.
So when I was looking at the ranking for UCF, something that popped into my head. Do you think that with the addition of Scott Frost, do you think Nebraska should be slid into that top 25?
Not yet. But I think come next, I think Wisconsin's safe this year, but come next year, I think Scott Frost can turn Nebraska around. It's actually a game I'm worried about on Michigan State's schedule at Nebraska. It's going to be a night game. That's one of those tricky games on our schedule that Michigan State always likes to lose. They lose a game that they're not supposed to normally during the year. So I think Frost is going to do a lot of good things at Nebraska. I think he's going to be able to get some recruits there. They're going to be a team to watch out for in the Big Ten, which they haven't really been since they've came into the Big Ten. So we brought them here to do what they did, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and now I think he will be taking them into. I don't know if they'll be an elite football program again, but they'll definitely be a consistent top 15 team with him at the realm.
Nebraska didn't even receive a vote to be in the top 25 as part of,
which I think is fine.
Rankings.
Their roster's kind of meh right now, so he needs to get a full recruiting class in there that's fully from him to really get things rolling.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think he definitely, as far as like coaching success, I think he made a better move. But we're not talking about Scott Frost. UCF rated too high at 23. No, I think like you said, they're right where they need to be. I don't consider them the national champions from last year, regardless of what they want to say.
I think we can all agree on that.
If Scott Frost had stayed and they had kept the same head coach, I could see them being a bit higher in those middle teens. But losing your head coach and a lot of your senior leadership always hurts, no matter what the program is. So, 23 I feel is a good starting spot for them, and they can prove themselves if they want to move up from there. So we'll move on to the first hold up segment that we've had in a couple weeks. And like I said at the beginning, this is actually all 5 of these college football statements are college football related.
All right.
All 5 of them. So we'll just start at number 1 and we'll get through them. So Alabama starts the season ranked number 1 overall in the preseason rankings, as they do almost every season. Even with their quarterback controversy, which we just talked about, they're the favorite to win the national championship. So here's your statement. Alabama will start the college football playoff as the number 1 seed. All right. Move on to statement number 2. Clemson starts as the number 2 ranked team in the preseason rankings. Despite not playing in the national championship since they lost to Bama before they got a chance to. They have undoubtedly the best defensive line in college football and one of the top coaches with Dabo Swinney. So here is your statement. Clemson will find a way to miss the college football playoff this season.
Ooh. God, hold up. I don't know about missing it. I think they could slip up, but the tricky thing about Clemson, I think, is if Trevor Lawrence is going to be the guy, a true freshman leading the way, what are we really going to see from them? In the ACC, I can see them kind of slipping up a game or two, but I think they have enough talent to make the college football playoff. There's not a lot of teams I love this year, and just looking at it, I don't really know who makes it ahead of them without being able to see some football being played first.
Matthew said it might be Miami.
And that's why I didn't say hold on, because I thought it was going to be Miami.
Yep.
I'm going to topple.
Yep.
Third statement. Number 3 ranked team headed into the preseason rankings, Ohio State Buckeyes. So they've got their controversy going on with their wide receiver coach, Zach Smith, and his involvement with the domestic violence case. Urban Meyer is currently on administrative leave as the university conducts its investigation. So here's your statement. Ohio State, even without Urban Meyer, will win the Big Ten championship and make it to the college football playoff.
Hold up.
Without Urban Meyer, I don't think so. I'll let you go ahead, Matthew.
Even with Urban Meyer, I don't think they get it there. I think Wisconsin and Michigan State have that on lock.
Lock? I like that.
On lock.
I don't know if I'd give Michigan State a lock yet. Especially if you take Urban out of the picture. Same thing I brought up in the Michigan State schedule. Ohio State schedule, you're at Penn State, you're at Michigan State. Maryland could have been a tricky game before their whole situation happened. You're home against
that away game at Michigan State's a free win though. So
yeah, Sure thing. At Penn State, at Michigan State, one of those is going to be a night game. And if it's for them, they would rather the night game be at Michigan State because going to Penn State playing at night, teams don't normally leave there as a happy team.
Do we play Iowa this year? Does Ohio State play Iowa this year?
No, Iowa.
We're going undefeated. Not even. Don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah, there's Ohio State. I still think will win the Big Ten, but if you're taking Urban out of the picture, I don't know who's taking over. I think that'd be enough to give a team like a Penn State, a Michigan State, or a Wisconsin enough to beat the powerhouse that is Ohio State this year. Because Urban doesn't automatically win Big Ten championships all the time. He did lose a couple.
Yeah, that's fine. I think without Urban Meyer, I could still see them winning the Big Ten championship. But if the top of the college football playoff rankings at the end of the season are like they were last year, I could see them getting left out because they don't have Urban Meyer.
If they win the Big Ten, whoever wins the Big Ten, unless there's absolutely insanity at the top, will get in the Big Ten or get in the college football playoff.
Well, there's insanity every year at the top of the college football playoff.
Yeah, but I think the Big Ten's high enough this year compared to last year to where whoever wins the Big Ten, whoever wins the SEC, and whoever wins the ACC, I think are locks for college football playoff.
We'll see.
Unless the Big Ten champion has 2 losses. But if there's a Big Ten champ with 1 loss or no losses, that's a lock. I mean, it'd be criminal to keep them out, especially if they come from the East.
Didn't Ohio State win the Big Ten championship with 1 loss last year?
2 losses.
Oh, it was 2 losses? Okay. So we'll move on to number 4. So we got Georgia starting at number 4 in the preseason rankings.
It's going through the top 5.
We sure are. After their overtime loss to Alabama in the national championship. They have expectations for their team and for sophomore quarterback Jake Fromm to lead this team to a second straight SEC title and national championship game. So here's your statement. Georgia will play in back-to-back national championship games.
God, this is... I'll go ahead and let's... I think they will.
So...
Let me... Hang on.
Jake Fromm's taking over, dude. Jake Fromm's winning.
Yeah, I'm okay with it because I just don't think that I think you got 2 big conferences and then you get 2 for the SEC.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I actually think Georgia will play in the national championship game. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised. Okay.
All right, let's round out the top 5 then. The Oklahoma Sooners ranked number 5 in the preseason rankings. After being eliminated by Georgia in the college football playoff last year. Baker Mayfield has moved on to the NFL, and Oakland A's first-round draft pick Kyler Murray is taking over as the starting quarterback for the Sooners. They're the heavy favorites to win the Big 12, with the next highest-ranked team being West Virginia at number 20. So here's your statement.
The Big 12.
The Oklahoma Sooners will not win the Big 12 championship this year.
God.
Hold up.
Yeah, I'm gonna say hold up too. I don't think
Will Greer's. Herman's gonna work a miracle in Texas. They're just due. Texas is like Nebraska. They're due for that season, and the Big 12 is not as good.
Where are you going? Where are you going with this statement?
You said will not win.
I said Oklahoma will not win the Big 12.
I hadn't said hold up this entire time. I didn't get a hold up.
I don't think Texas is ready to overtake Oklahoma yet. Could Herman surprise us? Yeah. But I think the team that would threaten the most is West Virginia. I just don't trust Will Greer enough to overtake Oklahoma. I think the Big 12 is weak. Another weak conference. Actually, TCU is the next highest rated team at 16.
Oh, yeah.
Will Greer will get some vitamins from GNC and screw up West Virginia's.
I forgot. TCU.
No, that already happened.
I forgot TCU moved into the Big 12. By the way, Matthew, you said hold up on the third statement about Ohio State, so you had said hold up this time.
Okay.
I think Oklahoma wins the Big 12 again.
Okay. What were you saying about Texas, Matthew? Go ahead and get your thought out there.
I just think that they're due. I think that it's one of those things where Herman, I don't know. I just feel like he's gonna work some magic. I think he's getting the players in there, and he's actually done something before in that area.
I feel like Texas is almost becoming Michigan. That like their fans are just going to continue to say we're back until they actually come back. Which for Michigan,
they are back. I'm saying
no, I know. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about like this. Which reminds me of like I'm just like thinking to myself like Michigan hasn't won a Big Ten title since 2004, and they're back every year. So it just when you said they're due is what made me think of that.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, really, I think you have a lot of traditionally great schools that are struggling as of late, and the fan bases are just so.
Yep.
They're so eager. They want it. You know, Nebraska, the second Nebraska is in the top 3 in the next couple of years. If he's able to make that happen, you know they're going to lose their minds.
Yeah, for sure.
So all this college football talk, I know it's making Emmons happy. College football season is officially back. September 1st, I believe. It's the first Saturday in September, I believe is correct.
There
might be like a Thursday night.
There's a week ahead of that have the best game is Hawaii versus Colorado State. So
yeah, so real college football starts September 1st.
The first game that's worth watching is on Thursday. I think Purdue plays Northwestern.
Yeah,
I would not be shocked to see South Carolina in a Thursday night game. They always play on Thursday night.
Yeah.
So that'll take us into the NFL, which has started its preseason officially 2 weeks ago, but all the teams got some action this past weekend. So with that in mind, Matthew, which rookie quarterback impressed you the most in preseason week 1?
No, I'm joking. I wasn't able to watch it.
All right, we're losing Matthew again with his camera. So
why don't you break it down to me, Josh, and give me what you think first for once tonight?
Oh man, I'm gonna rock with Baker Mayfield. Is who I'm gonna rock with. He went 11 for 20. I think he had like 210 yards and 2 touchdowns. That completion percentage isn't great, but it's not awful. And he was making plays. He was actually making the Browns look like a competent football team. Something Deshaun Kaiser was unable to do last season at any point. So I'm gonna go with Baker. I'm gonna go with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Kind of figured you would, so I was trying to see here who else kind of impressed me. I think I
liked Rosen.
Yeah, Rosen had a good game.
He just looked.
I didn't get to watch.
I
didn't see much from Rosen or Darnold. For me, I didn't see it. Like I didn't actually visually see their tape. So, I think Darnold had a good game, but there was a throw that Baker made, a touchdown pass that he had that was insanely accurate. And watching him play, what I was worried about with him, he proved me wrong so far, given his preseason week 1. But I think Josh Allen had a solid game, but he had some questionable things too. So I think if I had to give it to the most impressive performance, I'd probably go Baker.
Josh Allen was interesting because if you watch his clip, he makes some nice completions.
Right.
But at the end of like the highlight clip that the NFL put out with all his passes, at the very end, there's 2 completions. One is like a throw on the run off his back foot, and it looks like an awful decision. Like it looks like a cornerback reaches up and it just goes right through his hands. Like he should have picked it, but he missed it, and his tight end caught it. And then the very next play is a throw to the end zone, which ended up being a touchdown. But again, it looked like it should have been picked off if the cornerback would have, just made the play on it instead of just kind of whiffing. So I feel like he made 2 really bad decisions in a row, but he wasn't punished for it. So all in all, I guess you can't really fault him for that.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to get from Allen, though. I think he can make a lot of throws with that arm strength. I think you're going to get a lot of interesting decisions from him at least the first year, given how long it goes throughout his career. But
he did throw a ball like 50 yards down the field, and it looked like he was like barely trying to throw the ball at all. So,
I mean, his arm strength is a thing that no one can doubt about him. It's just his decision making and accuracy issues, which we'll see going forward through the preseason.
And the hard part for all these guys is their offensive lines are not very good.
Right.
There's a reason they were picked. Their teams can pick up there, and it's their offensive line they're gonna really struggle with that. And even Rosen, like he made some really good throws, but there was a lot of throws he couldn't make because the line just couldn't block.
Yeah,
So I think it's going to be interesting to see if they actually put these guys out there against an actual starting defensive line for an entire game.
I think the rookie QB with the best offensive line is either Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield, one of those two AFC North quarterbacks. So
Yeah.
Well, and the hard part for the Browns though is they lost
Joe Thomas.
Joe Thomas. I mean that's a killer. That kind of kills you. So
Yeah, I think losing Joe Thomas was huge. If I had to pick a best line, it'd probably either be the Ravens or the Browns, but nothing's really in great shape.
Yep, I agree. So we'll stick with our quarterback theme going on right now and talk about the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. They're kind of stuck with a decision to make. They've got Nick Foles. They didn't trade him in the offseason. Carson Wentz is coming back. Did Carson Wentz play in Week 1? Did he play a drive? Not sure.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I know he
don't think
was.
so.
I know he had talked about playing a drive, but I don't know if he actually ended up doing that. But Wentz wants to be back for Week 1. So the question that I'll ask you, Evans, is if you're the Eagles, would you risk it and would you play Carson Wentz Week 1?
The injury is so tricky. Only they really know. I guess it's how they feel he is. If there's any doubt in their mind about if he's 100% or not with that injury, I think you go with Foles. If you're confident and you think he's 100% healthy, ready to go, he looks good in camp, you have confidence in him, you go for it. I think we will see Carson Wentz play Week 1. I think he's that type of competitive guy where there's really no way he's not going to come out there unless they absolutely chain him somewhere and not let him play, or unless he's not physically capable of going out there, which I think he is. So I think we will see Carson Wentz Week 1, and if he is 100%, I think that's the right decision for them. If there's any doubt in their mind at all, I think you got to go with Foles.
I think there's a reason why Nick Foles was a journeyman after that one season that he had where he was going off. Peterson and that coaching staff did a great job restructuring that offense to fit him. I mean, if you actually look at his first couple of games, that wasn't very good when he came in there. They had to restructure how the offense was run. So you picked Wentz with the second pick. You've got to play him if he's healthy, like John said. If he's healthy and he's ready to go, you got to play him. You can't get into this, what are we going to do nonsense. You got to get him in there and just play him. So,
right. But yeah, if you're confident that he's healthy, you go with him. I don't think there's
like you said, if there's any doubt, you don't put him in too early because you do have a luxury of a guy. The tricky part is, though, like I said, they had to run two different offenses for those two quarterbacks. They didn't run the same offense for both. So if you start, Foles the first two games, your offense is playing a different
system. And then you just kind of throw him in the middle. All right, here you go.
Just all of a sudden switch is going to be kind of awkward. So you're hoping you can get him out there because that's going to be really weird, I think, if they continue that RPO style, unless they're going to use that with Wentz. I mean, they may choose to completely change how they use Wentz if he does well with that in practice. So I think it's an interesting situation for sure.
I would venture to say that I bet the Eagles had their Week 4 game switched with their Week 1 game. Week 1, they start off with the Falcons. In Week 4, they have the Titans. I would venture to say that they would like that switched. Because then they could start with Foles Week 1, and if Carson feels ready by Week 3, they have the Colts, which that shouldn't be a tough game for them. Carson could get out there, get his feet wet against the Colts, and then he'd probably be ready to go against the Falcons in Week 4. But they open up with the Falcons Week 1. It's at home, but I don't know that you want to put Carson Wentz out there having not played a game since last December, coming off an ACL injury, not going 100% in the preseason that I know of, and going against probably a top 5, top 10 defense. It's going to be rough. So
yeah,
But I think you guys are right. They're going to have to, because I don't think Nick Foles will have the kind of success that he did last year.
Right.
And they have a hard, like, that's a tough game to open up against with the Falcons. So whoever the schedule makers over the NFL did them
brutal.
No favors.
Brutal.
They actually have a nice, like, a tough stretch of games too. After week 4, where they play the Titans, they have the Vikings, the Giants, the Panthers, the Jaguars, and the Eagles. Or I mean the Saints.
The Saints. And then right after they play the Saints, they play the Giants again, and then Washington, then Dallas, and the Rams and Houston.
Yeah, so they've got a rough stretch. So they need to win games.
What happens when you win a division?
Yeah, they need to win games early against Tampa Bay, Indy, and they need to beat New York both times, I think, because they have some tough games coming up for them.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get to our NFC West predictions.
Very meh division.
Very meh division indeed. So Matthew, do you have your stuff pulled up in front of you?
Who I think is going to win the state?
Yeah, do you have like your rankings 1 through 4 and the records and all that?
Yeah, I do.
Why don't you run us through just your division winner for all of the AFC conferences, since you missed
all
those
the
weeks.
AFC conferences.
Yeah, since you missed those weeks.
You're throwing me on the spot. I was preparing for NFC West.
Yeah, we're gonna do the NFC West, but I was saying since you missed the weeks.
I understand. So, okay. In the East, AFC East, I have the Patriots. AFC West, excuse me, I have the Chargers. AFC North, I have the Steelers. And in the South, I have the Jaguars. You're welcome, Josh.
So, none of us have disagreed on the division winner in the AFC.
Nope. That's
beautiful.
what we all picked.
Beautiful. NFC, I have in the East.
Do not. We're just starting the NFC today.
Oh, you're just starting.
Yeah.
Apologies, audience. I have been knee deep.
Almost gave you a preview of our future shows there, but
good catch. So I'll give you 1 through 4 minutes then.
Yeah.
What I'm doing.
Yep. So start with the NFC West, and we're gonna do NFC West only today. Give us your number 4. And then 3, 2, 1. Yep, 4-1.
Oh, that's number 4 is easy. Seahawks. I think they take a step back.
What do you have their record at? Do you have that?
Yeah, I have them at 4-13.
4-12.
4-12.
4-12. Yeah, that's what I mean.
4-13. Interesting. Oh, bye week for you, Seattle.
Playing an extra game.
4-12.
Third place team. Who you got?
Third place, I have the Niners. I have them at no, I'm sorry, I have the Cardinals at third. Sorry. I have the Cardinals at third. I have them at 6-10.
6-10.
I think you said 5-11. Oh, 6-10, okay.
6-10. Second place.
I have the 49ers at 8-8.
And that leaves the Rams at first place.
Yeah, so
I have Rams.
What do you have the Rams record as?
13-3, he said.
Oh, 13-3. Okay. All right.
God.
Go ahead, Evans. Give me your number 4.
Did I spice it up for you, Dan?
We're gonna go. All right, number 4. That would give. I have actually 3 teams at 5-11. So.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
We'll go with just opinion here with between the 5 and 11. I'm gonna go with Seattle at 4. That offensive line didn't get any better for Russell Wilson. That defense lost some pieces. So they're taking a huge step back. I don't like the Seattle Seahawks at all. I think Russell Wilson is good enough to win 5 football games, in my opinion. So I guess that's really where those 5 wins come down to.
That's where my 4 wins came from.
Yeah. San Fran, I have at 5. I'm gonna put Cardinals at 3 at 5-11. I don't know what I'm getting. I don't know. I mean, Bradford, Rosen, who knows? I mean, you get David Johnson back, but that O-line is atrocious, if I remember correctly. You lose Honey Badger on defense. I don't think they gained much on defense in the offseason. You guys could correct me if I'm wrong there.
No, you're not wrong.
So you got Pat Pete out there kind of by his lonesome. And that secondary, you got Budda Baker, but, I mean, Cardinals aren't that good in my opinion either. And then we'll come in at the San Francisco 49ers coming in at 5-11. I know everybody's saying Jimmy G,
Oh.
7-0, whatever he was last year, but I don't know what I'm getting out of him. I don't even know what I'm getting out of that team, let alone him. I think this division is very, like I said earlier when you first brought him up, it's meh. Not a lot of, I mean, they got Green Bay for San Fran, at the Chargers, at KC, at Minnesota. And then obviously I have the Rams coming in at the top at 11-5. I do think they might have some chemistry issues to where they could slip up a game in the division or one or two. And then you got Minnesota. I have them losing to Minnesota, at New Orleans, home against Philly. I have them losing one to Arizona and San Fran. Their biggest win would probably be at home versus the Chargers.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be at the Chargers.
I'm like a nice mix of both of you guys with my predictions. Like a nice little
Okay.
mix. So I
Little mixed.
do also have the Seahawks finishing in 4th place in that division. Also going 5-11, just like Emmons said. I think the worst part for the Seahawks is that they lost offensive weapons. They didn't add O-line. They drafted a running back in the first round for a team with no O-line. They lost defensive pieces, and in all respect to Shaquem Griffin, but he's got one hand.
Yeah.
So it's. I think it's going to be a rough couple seasons for them. I hope that they stick by Pete Carroll because I think Pete Carroll's a good coach. But I think he needed to reset the culture there. I don't think that their defense ever got over that interception that Russell Wilson threw in the Super Bowl a couple years back. I don't think their defense and their team as a whole ever got over that, and I think they needed to reset the culture, and that's what they're doing.
Okay, can I say something to that point, though?
Sure.
I have a complete opposite opinion of Pete Carroll with that. I think that is the culture that he put together, because that's the culture he put together at USC. I mean, it's a very laid back culture, and eventually the Roosters run the hen house and that kind of culture, and that's what happens with his kind of team. So I think what you're seeing is he led to that. And I don't think that he's necessarily changing that. I think it's going to happen all over again.
He could not change that and still be laid back, but getting new people in to be new leaders is a new culture.
But then they're going to turn around though and do the same thing. It's
only if they lose the Super Bowl on the 1 yard line with a power running back, one of the best power running backs ever.
But I don't think that was the downfall. I think no, psychologically, yeah, you can say, and I'll agree with you that those guys kind of got upset with him and them, but he was already losing them to them being able to do whatever they really could do whatever they want.
Right.
I was going to say, I think that culture was starting to become, I wouldn't use the word cancerous, but something to that aspect before that Super Bowl loss. And I think
didn't help, yeah.
Right, and I think a good word to use is psychologically. I think that Super Bowl loss, Pete Carroll's decision to throw it on the 1 yard line. You got obviously Richard Sherman was vocal about it.
You can act any way you want to, and you're winning. When they lost,
right.
when they lost, they lost, it became a big issue.
Right.
So my number 3 team, I have the Arizona Cardinals, just like you guys did, just like both you guys. I have them coming in at 6-10. I believe Matthew had the same record. David Johnson's back is nice. Larry Fitzgerald back is nice. Sam Bradford can be a solid quarterback if he plays the whole season. I don't see that happening. Patrick Peterson and Chandler Jones are the only thing that defense really has. Hassan Ridgeway is a very promising young player, and so is Budda Baker, but I think that they're still 1 or 2 years away from being elite. Yeah. And by the time they hit that elite status, Chandler Jones and Patrick Peterson will probably be on the decline. So that's unfortunate for them, but I think that they're good enough to win 6 games, especially it being in a division with the Seahawks. So I got them at 6-10. The San Francisco 49ers come in second, also at 8-8, as Matthew had them at 8-8. I think they're a 500 team. I don't think they do anything well. I think they do everything pretty good, but not well. We'll see what Jimmy G is. But with having Pierre Garçon as your number one receiver, that doesn't impress me. I can't name a tight end on their roster off the top of my head. Their defense is nice, but only in the front seven. Their secondary is kind of suspect outside of maybe Jaquiski Tart. And we'll see what happens with Reuben Foster if he can stay on the field the entire season without getting in any kind of trouble. So
that's a huge part of it too.
Yep. So I have them going 8-8. They did lose some pass rushers. Aaron Lynch going to Chicago, I believe, in the offseason.
Yep.
So they did lose some pass rushers, but they still have great players on that defensive line: Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas. So they're still solid up front. But yeah, like I said, we'll see. I don't think they do anything well, but they do everything okay to pretty good. And then the number one team, that leaves the Los Angeles. I almost said the St. Louis Rams.
I wish you would have.
I almost did. That leaves the Los Angeles Rams. I don't have them going 13-3 like Matthew does, though, so we disagree there. I have them going 11-5, just like Emmons says. So 11-5. Also, biggest win coming against the Chargers week 3, because I think the Chargers are going to be a very good team. There's nothing to say about that team. Like, they're just good.
Yeah,
they're good.
What'd you have them going as a record?
11-5.
Okay, so same as okay.
They've got a strong run game. Strong run
out of curiosity,
pass game. Good offensive line. Good defensive line. The thing that gets me is their linebacking core. They have no linebackers really to speak of. Maybe Mark Barron, but he's not very good against the run. And really, maybe they don't need them to be good against the run, adding Ndamukong Suh. But we'll see how it goes for them.
What were your what did you have them losing? What were your losses? That's
There are 5 losses. I have week 4 at home against Minnesota. Week 8 at home against Green Bay. Week 9 on the road against the Saints. Week 15 at home against the Eagles, and then week 16 on the road in Arizona. I have their 5 losses.
We agree on everything besides I have them beating Green Bay and losing to San Fran the week before. I guess since we've agreed on every single division so far, which I think next week we might disagree. I think it's the NFC North.
Correct. It is the NFC North.
What team, if any, could somehow surprise the West and win? I guess what team would be most suited to?
If I had to pick one, I would say I would go with the Cardinals over the 49ers, even though I have their record lower. I think that if they can get better play, if they can keep getting good play out of Peterson and Chandler Jones, if Hassan Ridgeway and Robert Nkemdiche can take that next step, they can have a Philadelphia Eagles type defensive line. They have the pieces, they just need to be able to put it together.
And I think the thing with the Cardinals is, because I agree too, I have their record being the same as 3, 5, and 11 teams, but I think having that playmaker and a David Johnson, if he's healthy, is huge if you want to somehow surprise teams and win that division. I don't think they have a chance, but I'm just tired of all this agreeing on these divisions. We got to start disagreeing on some of this stuff. At the last 3 divisions, though, I think there could be some difference of opinions. I think these are actually the 3 most interesting divisions in the NFL that we're going to talk about the last 3 weeks.
I would disagree that the NFC East is an interesting division.
Contrary, friend.
I would say the AFC South has the potential to be.
Oh yeah, the AFC South. Yeah, I forgot about the AFC South. Yeah,
divisions. If Andrew Luck bounces back and stays healthy as he has, and the Jaguars continue to fight amongst themselves on defense, we'll see what happens.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh man, how much time we got?
We got some time.
Yeah, we
got a few minutes. We talk about that for a few minutes.
You want to talk about them?
Being without Matthew for like the last few weeks, he was dealing with school stuff. I didn't know how much I wanted to talk because I kind of forgot how to pace myself with 3 people. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, man, we got some time to chit chat a little bit here. So go ahead and tell us about your Jag situation.
So I don't know the whole story of it, but Dante Fowler was fighting with Yannick Ngakoue during practice. and then that argument carried into the locker room. So Fowler was suspended for that, and my only assumption could be to that fight would be that Ngakoue has become the better defensive end as the third-round pick, and Fowler is pretty upset that he's not the number one guy, or at least the number two guy behind Calais.
The writing on the wall, basically.
Yeah, basically, because I don't think the Jaguars are going to exercise his fifth-year option at the end of this year. And I wouldn't honestly be surprised if Taven Bryan makes a big step. Because I think he's going to get some playing time this season. So if he can make a decent step forward and show that he can be at least close to what Fowler was for us, I wouldn't be surprised if Fowler was traded by the trade deadline week 8. So that was that. And then Jalen Ramsey, I don't know why he was upset. Supposedly it was because of maybe the video of the fight leaking. I'm not sure. But Ramsey was popping off on some reporters at practice, and then he was popping off on them on Twitter. So he got suspended for a week too. So now they're both missing the preseason game.
He got onto them whenever they were filming the fight. It wasn't even the leak. When they were filming the fight, he said, "Y'all stop recording. Don't record this. This stays here," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I do agree with that too as well.
I mean, he was trying his teammates. I can't be mad at him for that.
Right. So I guess since we haven't talked to Matthew much about his team, how do you feel about any Patriot? I mean, I guess you don't really hear much out of the Patriot camp, but what are you excited for about how they've, I guess, looked in camp and whatnot?
I am so excited. I am ecstatic. Michelle still can run, and he has a leg. I'm ecstatic to see that. He hasn't just stopped walking or anything. Because that leg is so
even Madden in the background reacted to that statement there.
Can't
talking about Sonny Michel.
Ridiculous.
Did he? How much time did he get in the preseason game?
I wasn't able to watch it. We don't get those games down here.
I didn't get to see a lot of carry on as much as I wanted to, but I still like Sonny Michel. So
I bet you do. I bet you do.
I liked Sonny Michel before that whole fiasco of your reaction to him. So, if we would have drafted him where we were drafting, I might have had the same reaction. But I like Sonny Michel. I am happy with carry on though.
Well,
I will say
I'm excited for them to get out there and play.
I think that's the big thing is it's fun to watch the preseason and it's fun to talk about, but
it's time to get out there and just play some football. Because
I think even if you watch football games, most of the time the game doesn't really get out of hand, quote unquote, until you get to the middle of the game and the later stage of the game where guys are getting tired and you see what they're really made of and how their conditioning and how their practicing is. And you don't really see that in preseason, so you might get the best of a team for one or two drives, but you're not going to get that team the entire season,
And that's perfect because that's exactly what I watched with the Lions and Raiders. I mean, you literally seen us sit in pretty much the same zone all game. Matt Patricia wasn't really showing much of what he wanted to do on defense. He kind of just plugging guys here, plugging guys there.
That's what Patricia does.
We're not going to get into that because that would be another long conversation. I can't really get into what I'm trying to say, how they played on defense. Then offensively, you've seen you ran the ball a lot more. But just like you said about we got to get out there and play football, Amir Abdullah had a good game. He made some good cuts, but I've seen him do this all before, and then I've seen him fade come week 2, week 3 if he gets injured or if he starts fumbling the ball. So like Matthew said, I'm just ready for them to go out there and play some meaningful football. I'm excited for college football. I'm really excited for the NFL, even though my team won't make the playoffs. But this football season, I couldn't be more excited. And I think the show is going to get a lot more spicier come week 1 of the NFL season, especially when we start doing the pick'em segment.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun little addition that we're going to be doing once college football starts on September.
Yeah, let's please skip the Hawaii Colorado State week.
Yeah, we're probably going to do top 25 games only. is probably what it's going to
I
boil
would
down
hope so.
to. So except Matthews Gators, we'll do Matthews Gators games too.
We're not going to be in the top.
Yeah, both of our teams are in the top 15, so I think we'll be pretty safe with that.
Yeah,
but I don't. My
Matthews
team
seems
doesn't. My team doesn't have a big game for a few weeks, so I don't expect to hear their name.
Yeah, we're still gonna do them though. We'll still do our teams. Teams.
Maybe I'll pick Utah State over Michigan State.
Ooh,
Tune in.
That'd be spicy.
I'd
All
kill
right.
myself.
All right, Matthew, why don't you take us out? What's on your mind, buddy? What you got?
I don't know if you're ready for this.
Oh,
I'm going to rant, so don't try to interrupt me. Let me finish. And I don't say that meaning like
Hopefully your camera
The
lets
other
you
time.
finish, because right now it's not letting you finish. I thought it's freezing up a little bit. Yeah, all right, go ahead. It looks like it's working. Go ahead.
Do it now.
Antonio Callaway.
Antonio
Okay.
Callaway.
Dude gets pulled over for drugs. Not the first time, not the second time, not the third time. I think this is the fourth time. And he has a bunch of guns in his car. So, Hugh Jackson has a chance to punish him. And his thought is, we're going to leave him in the game. We're going to make him work. We're going to give him extra reps in the preseason to A, get better, B, show what he can do. But let's say Hugh Jackson was right. He was really trying to make him work and kind of, wear him out and be like, boy, you're going to run. You're going to run. If I'm the union, I'm getting involved, because now you're saying you're putting him in a health situation. This whole thing stinks. It's bad. It's a bad look for Cleveland. It's a bad look for Hugh Jackson. And I don't know that anybody wins in it. I don't like it. It's sending a bad message either way. Either you punished him by physical hard work, which is, he was asking to come out. Let's say Antonio Callaway passes out because he was winded. What's that look like? I don't like it. It upsets me. It's a bad look.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, even with if you're working him harder to punish him, but it's a perfect example of what happened in Maryland.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
Who's really winning in that situation if that happens on the field? I think it's as simple. At least if he's not getting in trouble with something else, you don't play him. I mean, because even if go ahead.
I think that situation was really simple. Hugh Jackson wanted Antonio Callaway to play a lot, and regardless of what happened, he said he's going to play. I want to see him play. I want to see what he can do, because I feel like they knew the Corey Coleman trade was pending and was coming soon, and they were going to need a backup plan with that. So he said, you know what? He's playing regardless. I don't care what he's gone through. He's not suspended for the game, so he's going to play. And if anybody has an issue with it, I'll say it was supposed to be a punishment. When I don't think that was the case in that scenario.
And that's not a good look. I agree with you. I think it's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
it's
that's what happened.
I think
you gotta nip this stuff in the bud.
I think the craziest thing about. Go ahead.
He has a history of this stuff, and then you just
that's the thing
with Josh Gordon. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Josh Gordon.
So I think what's sad about this situation is Hugh Jackson is, if they win the games that I've predicted them to win, they go 5-11. He's won 6 games in 3 years at that point, and he'll keep his job. If he wins 5 games this year, he'll keep his job.
He'll keep his job for sure.
And that's kind of sad with the way that he's the way that he's managed that team. I honestly think he should have been fired last year when he said, I'm going to start DeShone Kizer all season no matter what, and then week 2 DeShone Kizer wasn't the starter. I think he should have been fired right then and there, but I don't make those decisions.
The talk a lot in gamesmanship, the game and all that stuff. It starts at the top, and I think we have too many examples. Whether it's Urban, whether it's him, and it's not just Ohio State. It's not just Urban. It's everywhere. It's got to start at the top. We've got to clean it up if we expect the players. You can't expect the players to clean up the game if you don't have your coaching staff clean. So.
It's not my turn next week for closing out, is it?
It doesn't have to be.
No, I think it is. No, I think it's your turn. Because I had a spicy topic, but I'll keep it for a couple weeks from now.
Okay. Well, it might be your turn if I can't think of anything.
Okay.
All right. So that's gonna be it for our show tonight. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, same day, same time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then so next week we're gonna do the NFC North, which is Mr. Emmons' Lions division. So we'll cover that next week, as well as any other topics that come up. I'm sure we're going to talk about NFL preseason week 2, which begins tomorrow night, and that carries on through the weekend as well. So thank you guys for watching. John, Matthew, thanks for being here on this lovely Tuesday evening. So again, thank you for watching live. Thank you for watching the recording. If you watch it on YouTube, thank you for downloading on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter and on Facebook, the Other Side Sports Podcast. But that's going to be it for us tonight. Thank you guys. Have a good night.